And you said that, man. The one thing that always, as I've gotten older, is I've had to go to the funeral home way more last year than I have in many years, right? And when you said that, Lynn, about how these disasters and things like this pull us together, man, it would be neat if we could just figure out a way to pull together in good times, right? It's just like when I tell my friends, I go, we need to start seeing each other outside the funeral home, right? Because this is the only place I'm running into you guys. Let's make a plan to have dinner or do something. And we like, yeah, 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 we got to do that. We'll text for a couple of days and then we put it off. And then here
Yeah.
we are, right? So
We forget, life gets the better of us, and we forget. Like, I lived through 9/11, for instance,
yeah,
as an
same.
example, and the motto was never forget. Like, this is
Yeah,
a never, and we forget. Like,
yeah, we
you talk
forgot
to
like yeah.
my daughter's and her friends are, early 20s, and they didn't go through this, so life gets ahead of you, and you forget what it really is to, unless there's a disaster. And it's a beautiful thing to see. But you're absolutely right. I mean, it's like, your neighbors. How often do you talk to your neighbors? How friendly are you with
Yeah,
them?
yeah,
When shit
absolutely.
when shit happens, you better be
Yeah.
friendly with your neighbors, because you're there for each other.
Man, that's good. Folks, I appreciate y'all joining. You just walked into a couple guys shooting a breeze as of us recording this. The LA fires are going, and my guest today, Len May, is he's right there in the middle of it. So he was catching me up on all the things, good and a little bit of bad, just about just about where he's at in his proximity to all the action that's going on there, and some positives and some failures. But man, I tell you, I'm excited because we've tried this a couple times. Our schedules hadn't been together, but I'm excited to learn more about what you do. Let me tell everyone else about you. Today we're joined by Len May, CEO and co-founder of EndoDNA, a pioneer in personalized medicine. Len's groundbreaking work in DNA-based health solutions is transforming wellness, but his journey hasn't been easy. From overcoming homelessness as a single dad to becoming a global thought leader, Len's story is one of resilience and innovation. I can't wait, man. Just in that in itself, and then I was reading a little more about your bio, and I had pulled it up for myself because I was going to razz you a little bit. All those things, DNA, thought leader, all the things that's in the world, and it's like a question that we could always ask Lynn is, let's talk some music, right? So I was like, heck
That's
yeah,
it.
man. He can go from all sorts of top. You're like me. You just tell me what you want to talk about, and I won't shut up for hours, right?
It's the ADD. The ADD kicks in, man, and that's it's whatever motivates you, whatever gets you dopamine going.
Yeah, man, thank you for being with me today. I appreciate it. But and I wanted to lead off here just with a remarkable journey, reading about you, learning more about you, from overcoming personal challenges like homelessness to becoming a leader in personalized medicine, which I want you to explain to us.
Hmm.
Share those pivotal moments that help shape your path and inspire you to create EndoDNA, and just let us know that journey of what kind of got us to where you are, man. I'm excited to learn.
Yeah. So I'm an immigrant. I was born in Lithuania, and my parents came over when I was like 6 years old, and I grew up in Philly. And I was the kind of kid that the teacher would call on, and I would be spacing out. I would be thinking about something else, always in my head. And I became disruptive in class and all that stuff. And when I was a teenager, I got diagnosed with ADD. I didn't have the hyperactive part, but I was always like, floating elsewhere, and they put me on prescription medication. And I can't say it didn't work, but it made me not feel connected to a sense of self.
Yeah.
And I was hanging out with some older kids, and they're like, "Hey man, do you want to smoke a cigarette before class?" I was like, "Cool." I get to hang out with the cool kids, smoke a cigarette. Never questioned why they only had one cigarette. So they passed the cigarette around, and it got to me, and I took a drag of it, inhaled, and it didn't taste like the cigarette that I tried before. So I took another one, and they were laughing at me. It was cannabis. They filled it with weed,
Yeah.
cannabis, and they were laughing. And I was like, "What?" And they told me. I went back to class, and the windows that are open in my head started narrowing, and I started being able to focus. So I never really thought about it, and I would consume cannabis here and there. It wasn't the easiest thing to find at that time when I was a kid. And I don't advocate this for anybody, but this was my experience. And my parents kept catching me after a while, so I stopped taking all the prescription medications, and that was my experience. And then when I was in my later teens, my parents caught me again. They ended up calling the cops on me, trying to have me arrested. And after the cops didn't do anything, they kicked me out of the house. So that was
Mm.
my homeless era. I had
So,
so much.
Lynn, tell us for perspective, what year are you talking about? Get
This is 1989, I
All
think.
right, so just
88.
so our guests know, 1989, smoking pot was not a cool thing. There was
Well,
not.
it was
It
it
may
was
have
a
been in
cool thing, but
California.
it was cool, but it was legal.
It may have been in California, but most parents were not. I was in '89. I was just going into high school. Just proximity to marijuana was absolutely something that was not cool, not accepted. Now it's more like we're at Virginia, where you're at in California. It's retail availability's there. There's all sorts of different how things have changed since 1989. So I wanted to interrupt you just so our guests know we're not talking about 2 weeks ago. We're not
Oh yeah,
talking about, we're talking about during a time when it just wasn't, it wasn't as socially accepted as what it is now. So
yeah.
keep going, man. So there's your homelessness kicked out of the
Yeah,
house.
yeah. So we're old guys, but in the first state, 1996 was the California passing the Medical Act, so it's still years away from that too.
Yeah,
But yeah, so I had some money, I had a car, it was beat up, I had some clothes with me. I stayed in motel rooms until I could couldn't afford it, so I crashed at people's couches. I wasn't living on the street, so I want to make it. I wasn't homeless like other people. I didn't have a tent, but I didn't have my own home, so I would crash with people. That couch surfing kind of place. And then my grandmother, who was alive back then, she let me crash on her couch, and then I was an avid music fan, so I would go to Tower Records. And for those of you kids, Tower Records used to be the greatest music store in the U.S. The record store, everything. It was just like my favorite place to go all the time. And I needed a job. My grandmother said she would give me money for down payment on my apartment or a security deposit, but I had to get a job. And I was just finishing high school, and I was going to college actually my first year, and I had to pay for everything. So I went to Tower Records, and they're like, "We have a job opening for a cashier." So I got a job at Tower Records, and I became a music buyer after a while. But I started as a cashier, so
that's
that was
awesome.
my job. And I was going to school, and I was DJing at a. It was crazy, man. I was DJing at a strip club after the after the
Yep.
tower closed. So that was my other job, trying to make money. I was going to physical therapy school as well. And in 1993, when I was in Tower Records, and maybe it was 92, I went to a festival. So you get paid like $7 an hour, but you get a lot of different perks. So they gave me tickets to go to this thing called the Horde Festival, which was like Blues Traveler, Ziggy Marley, the Black Crows. So I
Yeah,
went to this festival, and there was a group of kids who had a banner called the Cannabis Action Network. And I came up to them like, "Hey, what are you guys doing?" Like, "We're registering people to vote." I'm like, "Cool. What else are you doing?" And they were confused. They had pamphlets. So I became the president of the Cannabis Action Network. And in that, I held a rally in '93 at Independence Hall in Philadelphia. And my keynote speaker was this woman named Elvie Musica, and she was one of the first people to get federally prescribed cannabis. I'm sure people don't know the federal government had a program, even though it was Schedule One illegal. They were still cultivating cannabis in the University of Mississippi, creating pre-rolled joints and giving it to people that needed it for their conditions. So she had degenerative glaucoma, USDA label on these pre-rolled joints. So and she was lighting them up. And then everybody crashed in my house after the rally. And in the morning, we got woken up to a loud noise. So I came out, and LB was so apologetic. I had a sculpture in my house, and she walked into it and broke it. And then she medicated, and she could see again. I realized that, wait a second, cannabis was working for my ADD, but it was also working for her degenerative glaucoma. So there's got to be something in this plant. So I started, doing a lot of research as much as I could at that time. And then my girlfriend, who is my ex-wife now, said I have to get a real job. So I went on my corporate journey. I went to work with a company called Price Waterhouse, or then it was PwC. Then I worked for a venture capital company called Safeguard Scientific. Then I became a commercial real estate broker, and I was a commercial real estate broker managing director for Keller Williams Commercial, and did that for a while. My ex-wife was an actress, so going back and forth to LA. Then we finally moved, and I was sitting in a real estate office, not licensed here yet. I was a broker. I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, and these guys walked in, and they wanted to open up an alternative pharmacy. They kept saying to the other agent, and the guy came to me and was like, "Maybe you can talk to these guys. What do they really want?" And I asked them. They wanted to open up a dispensary. So I said, "Okay,
Yep.
well, I've been doing some research. Where's your paperwork?" They had no idea what I was talking about. So I helped them with their paperwork, get compliant, and everything else, and they offered me a partnership. So I came in. We opened up a dispensary called Kush Kingdom,
Yeah.
and I was sort of the behind the scenes guy. And we ended up opening up four more after a while.
And
And
this
the
is
thing that
post medical, right, Lynn? This is
yeah,
post when they brought
no,
in.
this is still in medical. This is 2010. So
Okay.
there was still medical. It was all
Yep.
medical. And the thing that I kept seeing was two people consume the same chemical variety, but have a completely different experience.
Yeah.
So my ADD kind of kicked into hyper focus, and I found a video by a guy named Kevin McKernan, who was the first person, or one of the first people, genetically sequenced a plant. And I reached out to Kevin. Long story, a little bit longer. I said, "Hey, we got to do something together." So I came as a consultant, worked for a company called Medicinal Genomics, and my job was to travel the U.S. and get plant material from different cultivators, bring it back to my lab, extract the DNA, and sequence it. So we created the first genetic sequencing platform for the actual plant and put it on the blockchain so people have a chain of custody. It was called Canopedia with a K. And the parent company of Medicinal Genomics was called Cortigen Life Sciences. And they did what's called pharmacogenomics. So PGX is a study of how drugs affect individuals' bodies based on your genetics and all those other things and drug interactions. So I really got into the human side of things and had an idea. So we have plant genetics here, we have human genetics here. Let's bring those two together to help people have a more personalized experience so they can avoid a possible adverse event. So they can know how to dose specifically based on metabolic function. They can look at the drug interactions and really focus on having that kind of experience. And they didn't really have interest in that. So that's what led me to launching EndoDNA in December of 2017.
Man, that's a lot. You collapsed a lot of time there, dude. Right? I mean, there's a lot of life that took place between 89, 93, and then was your proximity living in California, did this help this all incubate a little better than if you'd have been in a Bible Belt state, you think? Or
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Pennsylvania, it took a long time for it to sort of come to fruition. But the idea is like, I've always believed the medical properties of the plant, and I believe in personalization. I
yeah,
never understood why I go to a doctor and the doctor tells me, take two of these and call me in the morning.
yeah,
Well, I said, well, why am I taking two? Why isn't Jeff taking two and I'm taking one, or vice
yeah.
versa? I never understood that. I never understood this model of cookie cutter healthcare, and it's not even healthcare; it's sick care. So, my entry was with the plant and the endocannabinoid system, but it's all the way across the board. I mean, we do all kinds of genetic testing and analysis now, and making those interactive treatment plans for doctors so they can get more specific. And that's what I feel the future of medicine is. If you look at somebody's genetic profile, you can kind of see that this is your own life's GPS. So,
Yep.
yeah, can I drive from LA to Philly? Of course, without a GPS, maybe old maps, whatever. Maybe I'll hit some potholes, I'll hit traffic jams, I may get lost. Can I get there better with a GPS? Of course. Well, that's the same thing in life. If I know where my own life potholes are on the road, I'll be able to avoid those experiences. And that's the idea of using genetics and epigenetics to guide your, process.
You said, and I see that. So I own a gym, or own a gym, and some of the DNA plans came out, some of the meal plan, or some of the things where you could do a little blood work, or spit test or what have you, and then they would give you kind of a profile of what matches your DNA. Sounds like some similar type stuff, but that's I'm 100% with you on the medical part of it. Of we a lot of times we're treating the symptom and not the underlying issue. Right? I think you lean into that and not the person. I take my Yeah, I do a blood panel every 6 months, just because, as I've gotten older, and then I really try to keep in check with my testosterone just to make sure everything. So I work out every day, just making sure that everything's humming like it's supposed to. But I've taken those results, folks. I'm not a doctor. If you do this, you're doing it on your own type thing. But I've taken those results, put them into Chat GPT or AI, and just said, "Hey, tell me about this." And then compared it to my doctor's responses, like very, very point on. So sometimes we just need the data as well. But it also leans you into your like what you're talking there with health and wellness being so personal, and that's your core philosophy. Um, Tell us about your work with the DNA based health solutions and how that helped bring your concept to life, and then how can people benefit from this personalized approach? I think we're kind
Yes.
of there, right? So, but unpack that so it makes us all kind of have an understanding there.
Well, as I said, we started with the endocannabinoid system test. So, and the reason for that was because, as people were having these health conditions, they were consuming cannabis for them, and some people were having adverse events. And I was trying to figure out a way, like, so when we met with the FDA, they said, "What is the purpose of your test?" And I said, "To help people either mitigate or avoid a possible adverse event." So that's what we always start with. We always start to see what we can do in the form of safety. So we have a personalized experience for people. And when we started doing this for individuals, we could kind of, as you said, Jeff, it's a saliva swab. We're HIPAA compliant. You swab the inside of your cheek, you register, you send a sample to our lab. It'll take a few weeks. You'll get your results back. You log into your portal. What will it tell you? Well, it'll show you all the different markers related to the uses of why you would use cannabis or phytocannabinoids as well, and how it relates to your own endocannabinoid system, which I can go into if you would like. But the idea is that if you have markers for like anxiety or stress reactivity,
Yeah.
if you're consuming something that can actually exacerbate that, what we want to do is mitigate that. And how do we do that? Well, we have a predisposition. Now we have a, a ratio of cannabinoids and terpenes that may be more aligned with you. And they're all based on scientific research because we use AI to get all the peer-reviewed studies, citations, like in PubMed, et cetera, for that specific condition. So everything has to have a peer-reviewed reference associated with that. The second thing that we would do is look at your drug-to-drug interactions. So if you're taking prescription medications, then we're looking at dosing based on your metabolic function. And then we look at the certificate of analysis, so the test results of the product, and we try to show you how closely the product matches your suggested ratio. And to bookend the experience is a feedback loop. So now that you receive the product, how well is that product working for you? And then the AI learns from there. So that's the endocannabinoid system test. And then what we started doing is reaching out to healthcare professionals as they're making recommendations for cannabis. Now they can help their patients hone in a little bit more on what's right for them. So now doctors started reaching out to us, and we have patents. We have like 11 different patents. We have a patent on the use of DNA to make recommendations associated with the endocannabinoid system. We have an AI patent. We have formulation patents, etc. And then doctors started reaching out to us, and they said, "Hey, I had a Dr. Jennifer Berman, who's one of the top female sexual health doctors in the country, and she's saying to me, we have a lot of women who are younger in their late 20s are coming with perimenopause symptoms. So starting menopause." And I was like, "Really?" I was like, "Yeah, well, maybe that has to do with the hormones and all that other stuff that are in people's foods, which we can get
Yeah.
into as well." And she said, "Is there a way that we can use DNA to help women prevent or mitigate an adverse effect when it comes to menopause?" So meaning that if they have a predisposition to hot flash severity, can we know this up front and maybe get ahead of it? And then, so we developed a menopause biotype test for women so they can see that. And the idea is that there's an interactive treatment plan based on your genetic predisposition Dr. Berman and other doctors can say, all right, well, we can do hormone optimization. We can
Yeah.
do personalized supplementation. We can do other things, and we can get ahead of that so it minimizes the expression. So if people are prone to those conditions, that's what we do. So we have that. We have a nutrigenomic test, as you were saying, so personalized nutrients and supplements. And the I think the biggest differentiator between us and other companies that do that is that feedback loop. So now there's an action plan. Here's your interactive treatment plan. How well is it working for you? And the AI learns how to make those predictive inferences. So it's that, it's skin, it's mental health. We even have a canine test that looks at predispositions for dogs that have weight gain issues.
Yeah.
So that's really, and we're in the middle of 10 clinical trials, so we're not just doing observational stuff for feedback. We're also doing research, and we're published on PubMed. And the idea is we want to empower healthcare professionals to use genetics and epigenetics to make those personalized recommendations to their patients, not to diagnose them using that, to use that as part of their diagnosis. So they would get their blood work done, as you were saying. They would get all these different things, and they can make better recommendations. And then the AI will come in and say, you know what? There's 100 people similar to Jeff with his genetics that took this protocol and showed that it was efficacious. So now we're helping healthcare professionals get those personalized experiences.
Man, that's I turned 50 this year, and I've been privileged, like yourself. We're probably pretty close in age to where we watched the internet come to life, and we watched cell phone technology take off, and then we watched social media kind of come in, the advent of all those and how we use those. And when I teach some AI to small business owners, and just one of the things is reluctance to embrace, right? And I always say, you guys will probably remember that the internet was just going to be a fad, and look at how we use that today. And the same thing with AI. The stuff that you're talking about here is like exactly the way my technology brain works. Is being a 50-year-old guy, it frustrates me that it's taking us this long to have this conversation about dialing in just simple medical stuff, right? You go get your blood work out, your ADL and this and that, you're low here, and here's a pill for that or whatever. But this is exactly, I think, is some really freaking cool stuff, man. Um, just in how you're dialing in, but go back. You said, hey, we can unpack it, but take us down that food route a little bit of how you were going to kind of unpack that to how it all kind of intertwines to how we're feeling now and how that all kind of meshes into what your mission is.
Yeah. I mean, look, I'm 52. I'll be 53, and one of the things that I look at is also my biological age.
Yeah.
So I'm 52. I'm biologically 47. My goal is to reduce that to 40. Well, how do I do that? What do I do? Well, one of the things that people need to understand is your genetics are only a small part of what actually happens in your body. People blame their genes for a lot of different things. So
Yeah.
if you think about genetics as you get 50% from mother, 50% from her father, and think of it as sort of a whole bunch of on-off switches, like like power switches or whatever. And think about maybe 20% of them being on. So when you're born, your predisposition, your hair color, your eye color, your skin color, all these different things. But the rest of them are dependent on our own lifestyle choices. Some of those lifestyle choices include the food that we put in our bodies. It's one of the biggest reasons why we turn on the epigenetic expression. So that's when you actually take action to turn that switch on. So that's one thing, the food that you put in your body, the nutrients that you put in. The second thing is our exposure to other things, chemicals, pesticides, all these different things. They also affect your epigenetic expression, and also our own neurochemistry. So if we're prone to stress, a lot of cortisol pumps in your bloodstream, and that's also can depend and affect your epigenetic expression. So I'll give you my personalized experience, my personal experience. So I went to get my physical, and I go to a functional medical professional, and I'm all tattooed, but I don't like getting my blood drawn. It
Yep.
really stresses me out. I almost pass out every single time. And I know no matter what I do, I don't know what it is. I even got hypnotized for it. We'll see. I haven't had it done after the
You haven't had it
hypnosis.
done yet? Yeah,
No, no, I'm
that's awesome.
scared. I'm scared of it.
Folks, if you're not looking at Len's got sleeves on his arms and stuff like that. So
Yeah, yeah.
I can totally see the doctor being like, "Are you shitting me right now?"
Yeah, what do you mean, man? What's the big deal? I'm like, you don't even know. I'm a big baby when it comes to this stuff. So I remember last year I was getting my physical, and I was getting my blood drawn, and I hear in the back. First of all, they asked me, "Did you drink any water?" No. Oh, you're supposed to drink water. I didn't know. Okay, they gave me a water. Then I hear in the back, it's like somebody's yelling for somebody to come in the room. I guess I was sliding off the chair
Yeah.
already, and they're like, "Oh, all right, we like give you some juice." They gave me some juice. They're like, "Oh, we have to go back in and finish." I'm like, "Oh shit, what do you mean? I thought you were done." Like, no,
I
we
can
have
do
to
this
pull it
while I'm
out.
passed out. I passed out for a
Yeah.
reason. All right?
We had to pull it out because we thought you were going to slide. All right. So they got all that done. So I got my results back, and I'm talking to my doctor. She goes, your blood glucose level seems high. And I'm like, that's interesting because I don't eat sugar. I haven't eaten meat in 16 years. I don't eat sugar. I eat fish and all that stuff. So I'm pretty healthy. And she goes, I think it may be based on the cortisol level that was secreted because of the stress. And that turned your blood glucose level higher. She goes, if you're really concerned about it, I'll prescribe a glucose monitor. You can wear that for a few weeks and see. So it was like, yeah, let me see that. And it was nothing. It was exactly what she said. It was that
Yep.
stress. But I was thinking about it. What if you go to a regular doctor, insurance-based doctor, and they get your labs and they see blood glucose level? They're going to give you a pill for that. I
Yep.
didn't need a pill. It was just because of situation. So the idea of this system of insurance, the system of that we're built in this, sick care system, it's very difficult to do precision healthcare when you're stuck in a system that says to you, well, insurance is not going to cover that. So
Yeah.
you have this dichotomy of, the people that can afford functional medical
Yep.
concierge medicine and the people that have their HMO insurance and they're going through and like, yeah, we're gonna check your heartbeat, we're gonna hit your knee with a mallet, and I'm gonna give you the same prescription I give to everybody else because I only have 15 minutes with you because that way I'm gonna get $75 for your visit from the insurance company, and that's it. And it really is not a way to personalize healthcare or to reduce the burden on healthcare. Because as we get older, people talk about longevity. Well, your last, 15 years of your life, you're pretty miserable and sick. My
Yep.
parents retired, here and they want to travel. My mom is like, she can't travel now. So you missed your opportunity to go and enjoy the rest of your life because now you're sick. So we have to expand health span, not only lifespan. The way to do that is get ahead of all these conditions expressing themselves. And that's why, we feel pretty strongly that we can help healthcare professionals make those decisions so they can prevent some of these conditions from expressing themselves.
What am I experiencing for our guest? What is there a particular, if you are experiencing bum, like, so that sounds very speed real or whatever, but who are we speaking to here? Who would you like to say, hey man, if you're here, let's make sure we help folks find some clarity there. Because somewhere right now, someone's like, yeah, they're talking about pot, they're talking about all this stuff. This is not for me. There's no medical here. But I see it just because of my willingness to embrace and find these new technologies and the interest that I have in just the same stuff that you're doing. As I've gotten older, and I'm like, why don't we have more of this type testing and stuff? So, who are you looking for, Len? What would you, who do you want to find their way inside of your programs?
Yeah, my customer is a healthcare professional.
Yeah.
So what we do three things. Number one, our DNA testing is created for healthcare professionals. So we call it lab in a box. So Dr. Smith wants to, we're going to get Dr. Smith in the DNA testing analysis business. So we're going to give you your own white label kits, and hopefully your patients that come to you are going to ask you for that. You're going to say, hey, let me get a something more personalized for my experience with my healthcare professional. So Dr. Smith is going to get their DNA test. They're going to use that for their patients. They're going to log into their portal, get their results. They're going to look at their blood work as well and make a much more personalized recommendation for a treatment protocol for their patients. All that data goes in the cloud. It's de-identified. We're HIPAA compliant, and we take that data and we make better predictive inferences using AI for the next patient that comes through. So our customer is the healthcare professional. The
Got it.
second thing that we do is interpretation services. So it means if you've already taken a DNA test, 23andMe, Ancestry.com, etc., you can upload that. We'll interpret that and provide you a report that same day, so you don't have to swab. For a healthcare professional, where that makes sense. So let's say that Dr. Berman is doing the menopause biotype test to show their patient about, their menopause, and she gives them a protocol, but she also wants to say, you know what, maybe I can look at their nutrigenomics. So what nutrients and supplements can they take that's more personalized to them? Instead of going to swab again, I can click a button and have the software give me the nutrigenomic test as
Yeah.
well. And the third part of that is the interactive treatment plan. The treatment plan is built with initially it's built with an LLM model that we had doctors train, but now AI starts learning. So it says, like I said previously, there's 100 people that have a similar genotype to you that have taken this specific protocol and shown that it worked, that it was efficacious for them, and that's where it bookends that experience. So that's exactly what we do for healthcare professionals. We do have consumers who use our platform as well, and it's not about pot, as you said, or cannabis.
Yeah.
It's
There you
about
go.
it's about the endocannabinoid system. And
There
I
you go.
think people get, they get really weirded out. And our generation, your brain on drugs and Nancy Reagan
Yep.
and all that other stuff, and we get weirded out by it's a Schedule 1 substance, yes, but forget the actual drug. Think about your own system, because you have this amazing endocannabinoid system. And when people say, well, I don't even know what that is, I talk to doctors about that. I speak all over the world, and it's a primary regulatory system. We have to know how it works. I just went to a longevity event in Vegas, and there was only one single person that mentioned the endocannabinoid system. It was
Yeah.
only discovered in 1992, and it's a very interesting system because it gets signals from the other systems in our bodies and sends that signal up the central nervous system, like salmon swimming upstream, and makes a decision which neurochemicals to release to get us back into homeostasis and balance. And the two that it uses are anandamide, which is in Sanskrit, the word ananda means bliss. So this is our bliss molecule that's released when you're at the gym, you get a runner's high or anything like that. That's anandamide that's being released into our bloodstream. And the second one is called 2-AG. So the issue is when we are deficient in our own endogenous endocannabinoids, when we produce ourselves, we're able to get that from the plant. And when we consume the plant in its decarboxylated way, which means we heated it, it drops the acid molecule, because when you get the cannabis plant and you get THC, it's actually THCA, delta 9 tetrahydrocannabinol, with an acid molecule. You heat it, it drops off the acid molecule, it binds to your CB1 receptors, which are located in your brain and your central nervous system for the most part, and releases more anandamide. And when you consume CBD, it has an affinity for the CB2 receptors, which are located in your immune and digestive system, and releases more 2-AG. So an example of how this shows up in an individual
Yeah.
is, let's say, Jeff, that you're walking across the street and a car pulls out of nowhere, almost hits you. So you know that you're going to have that fight or flight experience. You have a bunch of neurochemicals that are pumped into your bloodstream. You have some dopamine, you have some adrenaline, you have some norepinephrine, you have some cortisol. Now, when your brain realizes there's no lion chasing the jungle, there's two things that happen. There's a reuptake of those neurochemicals, and then your brain secretes new neurochemicals to get you back to homeostasis, balance. One of them, or two of them, are anandamide and 2-AG. So if you have a genetic predisposition to a gene called Fa, so Fa stands for fatty acid amide hydrolase. That gene produces an enzyme that metabolizes anandamide. If you're a rapid metabolizer of that, you're not producing enough of your own anandamide. That cortisol level stays longer in your bloodstream. So if that happens, there's a couple of things that can occur. Number one, it can lower your pH level, make you more acidic. Number two, it can create an overactive immune response, like a cytokine. And now what you'll feel is inflammation. in your knees and your elbows, anything, any joints, neck, back. So okay, you can go to a doctor and you say, my elbow's been hurting me. Like, what are you doing? Are you playing tennis? Nah, nothing like that. You know what? We got a shot for you.
Yep.
I'm gonna give you a shot so you can stop feeling the pain. Well, maybe that wasn't the root cause. Maybe that was the stress, the cortisol that's in your bloodstream that your immune system is actually overreacting to. So this is where this preventative healthcare comes in. If you understand that you may have a deficiency in your endocannabinoid system and you can subsidize with the right cannabinoid and terpene profile, it'll help more of that anandamide to be released, and it'll lower the cortisol level and get you back to that balance. So that's one of the things that's really important, and the use of that is really important for precision health and wellness.
Yeah. An example I think I have in my head right now, and I'll see if you could help me with this one. Like at the gym, I would have someone come in and be like, "Hey Jeff, I tweaked my shoulder, doing some presses the other day." And if they would come back in more, I'd give them a week. But if it was over a week and a half, whatever, I'd be like, "Hey, you got something. You got inflammation. There's something else going on that's causing your body not to heal." Similar stuff, or am I totally off
Nah,
kilter?
similar stuff, man. And my mom always told me, she's like, stress. Everything is caused by stress.
Yeah.
She's right. But I always like, I'm the why guy. I'm like, but why?
All right.
Why is it caused by stress and how? Like, what's the mechanism that works? Like, yeah, I get it, but what is actually happening in your body? And when you realize that your own neurochemistry may be working against you, now you're out of balance. It's the same
Yep.
thing as you go in the gym. If you're going to be working out, one dumbbell and the other one is not working, you're going to be out of balance. You're going to have bigger bicep on one arm than
Yep.
the other. So everything is about balance. And when you're able to find exogenous, means outside of the you producing itself, exogenous substances that mimic or are similar to what you create yourself, well, great. I mean, that's a lot of herbal medicine. That's a lot of the medicines that we have today. What happened was they were herbal medicines before, and they became synthesized by a pharmaceutical company, maybe removed some of the other additives that were effective, but they became synthesized and became drugs. So we have, people telling us, well, this drug is a good drug, but this drug is a bad drug. I'll give you another example. Cocaine. Not advocating drugs in any way, Schedule 2, but we use that. We use it for medicinal purposes.
Yep.
And how does cocaine work in an individual's body? Like, oh, cocaine, this is bad. It's addictive. It's not the cocaine. The cocaine is a ligand, because what happens is when you consume cocaine, it binds to your dopamine receptors, squirts 100 times more dopamine than normally you would produce, blocks the reuptake of the dopamine, and you're like, holy shit, this is great. And all of a sudden it goes, and your brain says, that's interesting. I'm going to conserve energy. So what I'm going to do is, I like the dopamine. I'm going to send a signal for you to get more of that. So I don't have to produce as much dopamine myself. You can get it from this exogenous substance. So
Right.
it's the dopamine that you're dependent on and get addicted to, not the actual cocaine itself. And people need to start understanding how different substances work within our bodies. We trust, and it's great. We should trust our healthcare professionals. They're trained. But wouldn't it be more effective if we can collaborate with our healthcare professional? We learned a lot over COVID, maybe to ask some questions. And this conversation we're having now through the computer,
Yeah. Yeah.
we
Yeah.
we can have that with our doctors. Telemedicine
Yes.
became a prevalent thing, but I would want to have a collaborative conversation. They know a lot more than I do, but I know a couple of things. Let's work together to make
Yep.
sure that I have a plan to prevent some of these things from actually expressing themselves. And that's what my mission and goal is.
It's a great mission. I've noticed a lot of doctors are operating inside of a box through their hospital's SOPs or whatever that might be, that they're not willing to step out into this realm. But there are doctors out there that do, and that are willing to work in this. No different than TRT. Some of your hormone replacement therapies are specialty doctors that focus on that. A lot of time your primary care, your PCP doesn't do this because of that's not what they're like where I'm from, we have a pretty large um, um, medical care facility that most all the doctors work for. Now you're starting to see more doctors splinter off into these specialty services that can just do beyond what they, because they don't want to be in that box and they want to come over and try these new things. Um, Dude, that's awesome, man.
The other thing is it's cash versus insurance. And I
Yeah,
think this is something we all need to start looking at is how is the insurance companies, they're not incentivized for preventative
yep,
healthcare. Pharmaceutical companies aren't incentivized. They're more incentivized. Look, I'm not going to mention a name of this company, but people can figure it out. There's a large tobacco company. They are a large producer of cigarettes. They also are a large producer of vape technology.
yep,
They also have a lobbying company that talks about how vaping is safer and better than cigarette smoking. They also own a pharmaceutical company that makes drugs that are related to conditions that are caused by smoking. So you think about it like, yeah, it's okay, they can hurt you, they can actually give you the drugs for that, but in nowhere in their concept of medicine is, well, we're going to cure anything.
yeah,
And I was privileged to be a fly on the wall during a meeting of a large payer systems. So a lot of the blue shields and all the other stuff. So they were talking, and we could ask questions afterwards. And the biggest issue they were talking about is the epidemic of diabetes. They were
yep,
saying this is the biggest epidemic in the U.S. right now, and their goal, everything was to try to reduce the price of insulin. That's all they talked about. How can we make insulin affordable where it's 30 cents a day? And I was just like, I would have been ripping my hair out if I had
yeah.
any, but if you can't see, I don't have any hair. But I was just like, waiting my chance. I said, have any of you even discussed preventative
Yeah,
programs to prevent, let's GLP-1 agonists, or Ozempic is huge now. Like, we're making money off this stuff. Great. Okay, maybe it works for people and it's wonderful. But wouldn't it be great to know that you're genetically predisposed to all these things, and maybe change your lifestyle so you
yeah.
prevent some of these things from expressing themselves? So that's kind of the direction we're
No,
heading.
you're spot on, and we go through these phases to where we're glorifying, obesity and overweight, and we want I want people to feel good in their own bodies, and I think, but I also know that there's repercussions for for those things. We're just not made to do that, but they try to solve that problem through more medicine, more pharmaceuticals, the insurance companies subsidizing. As a fitness owner, insurance, most of your insurances don't pay for gym memberships, Lynn,
Yeah, exactly.
right? As preventive, one thing that we could do is, as a fitness person, is hey, everybody, you get an X number of dollar amount toward a monthly fitness. Most don't do that, man.
There's nothing like being in charge of your own health and wellness
Oh
by
gosh,
putting the good things in your body, exercising on a daily basis. I mean, we're in a moment in time right now where we're focusing on longevity and health span as a disease. I was at this conference called A4M, and there's so many incredible things. There now are doing a clinical study on curing blindness, and they can do that with genetic and cellular technology. They can address cancer cells in a completely different way. There's so much unbelievable technology for looking at addressing our health span, making us live longer, happier lives. But none of that stuff is covered by insurance. And by you learning something, like you have a gym, and when I go to the gym in January, the parking lot's packed.
yep,
February, it's still a little packed. By the time March rolls around, plenty of parking left in April. So just because you learned something, you read something, you have to create a discipline for yourself to implement that. A doctor can only see you once in a while, write you a script and all that stuff, but you have to take power into your own hands. And by the more you know about yourself, the better you can, the better you can be to create your own, programs to be on top of that. But it takes discipline.
Yeah.
For me, giving up sugar was not the easiest thing in the world. I still get sugar from, I have a food that converts to sugar once in a while, but that's a hard thing to give up. It creates, you have to create a mindset and give yourself, the carrot is bigger than the stick, or whatever motivates you. Maybe the stick is bigger than the
Yeah.
carrot, but you have to take ownership of your own health and wellness, because nobody else is going to do it for you.
Yeah, nobody's coming to save you. That's always the analogy I always used. That's great. That's great advice. Hopefully you and I can catch back up and just do a 6 months out or whatever. Just me and you just catch up. It's here's what the best episodes, the best conversations that I've had is just a conversation. And I think that's exactly what we've had today. Is I got to learn from you. If I can see, my eyes mess with me, but you got on your Aerosmith shirt, right?
That's right. Yeah, got some Aerosmith.
So
Mhm.
take me to just for our listeners, and one of Lynn's passions is music.
Yeah.
Take me to your favorite old, and then give us your idea who your favorite new, who your new music or your new artist is that you're listening to, as we close out here.
Yeah. Favorite old changes all the time. I mean,
Yeah, same.
I love Stevie Wonder. Like, I have songs in the key of life up here. I love Guns N' Roses, Led Zeppelin, Floyd, Beatles. Like,
Yeah,
Alice in Chains, all that stuff. Jazz,
same.
Coltrane, Miles, everything. I listen to everything, but especially blues based rock is my favorite.
Oh
I
yeah,
went to see Joe Bonamassa not that long ago. For anybody that doesn't know, I mean, spectacular. Kingfish is another one that I highly recommend everybody listen to. And even hip hop, man. I have Paul's
yeah,
Boutique,
same.
Beastie Boys here, but new artist. Um, so let me. There was I just saw a show by a sort of reggae artist called Matiz Yahoo.
Mm,
Phenomenal. I saw a band called um, uh, Royal Blood. They're great too. And let me see really quick. I'm gonna shit, look at my Spotify and cheat for a second, because there were so many that I was watching and listening to not that long ago. So yeah, I said Royal Blood, Matiz Yahoo. There's a band called uh, Radio Moscow. I think they're
yeah.
fantastic blues based band. Uh, also, see Dead Weather, which is Jack White's side project band. I don't know if any of these are brand new, um, but yeah, I think that's pretty much it that I can think of. I mean,
Those are good.
yeah,
I tell you, if you go down, if you go to Spotify, if you're on Amazon Music, I do this on
yeah.
Amazon Music. Alabama Shakes. Have you ever
Oh
heard of
yeah,
him? Yep.
oh yeah.
So
No,
if you'll do Alabama Shakes radio,
yeah,
it'll give you all of that older, not older, but some of your newer, and then missing some of your older, like R. Burnside,
yeah,
Charles
yeah.
Bradley. You'll find a lot of those old blues guys, but you'll find that Florida, Mississippi, Alabama sound to where it's just it's hard to walk
Yeah,
away from. It's good to work to.
I went to see Brittany Howard not that long ago from Alabama Shakes,
Yeah.
and she played with a guy named Michael Kawanuka.
Ah.
Fa- Fantastic. So that's another one that just came
I'll
to.
I'll check her. I didn't realize she was touring independently because she's I saw where they were kind of paused all their
Yeah.
stuff.
Oh,
That's
one
really
more.
cool.
The Gray Boy All Stars. That's another one that I saw.
Great Boy
Also
All-Stars.
funk blues based. Fantastic.
I like I'll go back to the James Brown. The other one, if you're looking for, if you're just looking for that night with the spouse or girlfriend or whatever, Teskey Brothers out of Australia.
Yes.
Teskey Brother Radio will take you down. They have some really good stuff, and then they'll bring out some really good stuff that you normally just are not going to hear on the radio. And I've discovered a lot of music just kind of following both of those
Oh,
too. So
one more just came to me. A band called High Fade.
I
They're
think.
from Scotland. They are a funk band. Incredible.
No,
I think they're gonna be, yeah, they're gonna be great.
I'm going to check those out when we get done. How do you want folks to connect with you? I'm going to put your website for the EndoDNA. I'll backlink it. I know a guy that may have purchased your. I have an Ancestry DNA, so I purchased your kit to match that up. So I will report on my results after I get those back as well. So.
Cool, man. I'll be
Um,
happy to go over your results with you. So yeah, I'm on all social. It's Len May, LenMay. I think on Instagram, I'm Len May DNA. Uh, um, LinkedIn, Len May. I also do. If you follow me on social, I do a record of the day. I kind of
ah,
chilled for a few days because of the fires in LA. I didn't want to kind of jump in, but you can. I grab. I have a pretty significant vinyl collection. So at lunch, I'll grab a record, put it on, and share that with people. So yeah, it's Len May DNA, and I have a podcast called Everything Is Personal, where I interview some interesting people. I just had the one of the guitar players from Velvet Revolver
ah,
on as well, and then I have a book called Making Cannabis Personal. You can get that on Amazon wherever you get
too
books.
cool,
So
man.
yeah, that's it.
Dude, I appreciate you spending some time with me and let me know more about you, and I can't wait to try out your product. I just felt like it's right in the line of things that I'm interested in as far as my own personal care and what have you. So, dude, thank you. Appreciate you being here, and I can't wait to see our next connections and see where this takes us.
Appreciate you as well. Thank you.